Well,
Hey,
good
good
morning,
morning.
everyone. Good
Hi
morning.
there. How you guys
Hi.
doing?
Great.
Great, great. Well, today we are talking about what makes dogs spiritual. And I want to explain to everybody why we're doing that. For those of you that caught the show last week, we did a tribute to Gander, which is Lon Hodge's service dog who had passed away. And during the show, we touched upon the spiritual relationship that the two of them had together, and it caught a great deal of interest to our fans. So much so that the fans had requested, gee, we should be doing things more about spiritualism. And the truth is, Gaetan and I, when we first started doing this before Roman came into the picture, we always said that the dog connection was about the spiritual connection, but we were hesitant to bring it forward because we didn't want a lot of people to be turned off from it. But the truth is, we did intend for people to make a paradigm shift and realize that the by contributing to the well-being of their dogs would help them change the way that they were thinking and make a connection at a heart level that is very difficult to do.
Mhm.
So by valuing their dogs and realizing that they are a gift to us. They're not our slaves. They're not they're not here to do everything for us. They are here as a gift. And when we recognize that, our thinking can make a change.
Mhm.
And the original thought was that we would help people in making that change. Why would we do that? Because we wanted to help them so they would connect with their dog and not find fault in their dog, and then eventually want to get rid of them or give them up because of bad behavior problems. And when really the real truth is they just weren't connecting. So now, today, what we want to do, which I think will be just absolutely wonderful, because we've got three very spiritual people that do believe that dogs is God spelled backwards, and that there's a spiritual element that comes to us through a dog. And we want to help you recognize that,
Mhm.
because once you are connected with your dog on a spiritual level, you'll find that things that you had as a problem they'll dissipate, and you'll find that we have a lot of things going on. So let's talk about what makes a dog spiritual. Roman? Oh, we
Uh-oh.
can't hear you, Roman.
We lost your microphone. While it's fixing that, I can just.
I'm done.
Oh,
Good.
you're
Okay,
back.
there.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity to share my passion with you guys.
You're gone again.
You lost your connection. It was working just fine before the show.
Yeah, right.
We can tell the audience. So while he's fixing that, I can say something about this if you
Okay,
let
sure,
me
go ahead.
express it. By the simple fact that the dog is alive, it's for me, it's a sign that there's a spiritual dimension, and the spiritual dimension is the consciousness in the dog. So the dog and I and us share that spark of consciousness within us. And when that spark of consciousness disappears, we die. The dog die, we die. So that's the first element of spiritual dimension. A dog share this spark of consciousness. I would say a dog is not necessarily at the same level of consciousness than we are. He cannot read, for instance, but it doesn't mean there's no consciousness in the dog. And once we understand that, our relationship with dogs should be a different nature. It's not an object, it's a conscious entity. And there's a way to interact with a conscious entity a different way than an object. And I hope Roman is back.
Roman, you're muted.
Unmute your
Unmute yourself.
on screen. You're muted on your screen. Click on your microphone on the screen.
Whoop.
He disappear. Oh, you're still muted. No, you don't need to go out. You just have to. Here he
There,
is.
there.
Yes.
He's back.
Okay.
Gentlemen,
Good. You can
ladies,
hear me, right?
he's back.
Yes.
Go
Yeah.
for
Good.
it.
Good.
Hey, as long as
backup
we have a
plan.
break here a second. Hi, Ron. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Dale. And thanks, Ellen, for sharing. Okay, let's get back to what we were talking
Good.
about.
I wanted to thank you guys giving me the opportunity to share my passion, because my whole approach in dog behavior is seeing the spiritual aspect of relationship what people go into with the dogs. If we look back where spirituality starts with dogs, we go all the way back to the very beginning, at least 40,000 years ago, where dogs come into our environment and share their abilities, and we process that. I don't think we people or humanity would be as far as we've gotten now if we didn't have dogs on our side helping us, protecting our fires, protecting our families. We trusted them. How is this possible to trust somebody that is a different species, doesn't speak our language? There's a connection here, and there's a reason why we say the dog's man's best friend. And coming from that perspective, we see that there is something we don't call any other species man's best friend. Why is that? Because we feel differently. They have this ability to connect emotionally with us. So there is no scientific evidence that dogs are spiritual, but we see that they do so many things similar with us. We see also that they share family code of conduct. They share family values, and they come in with such a complexity in the way they express. They have friends. Like I talk with scientists who are studying dogs in free environment. They say they have different friends. They have friends to play with. They have friends to go out hunting. They have friends to go, fighting with other dogs. They're being hired, kind of a contract to go and play with them and play war with the other dogs. That needs an intelligence behind that. And why not use the term they have a spirituality? From my perspective as a healer, I see all the time when I tap into that energy field that there is a wisdom behind, there is a collective these dogs are working through. So they don't have this individual spirituality that we have. For example, I am spiritual and I believe in a higher power. Dogs are feeding from a collective that gives them that purpose, that spiritual purpose of being here. And we can talk that later, going deeper into that. But for now, I would say dogs have a spiritual purpose of being with humanity. And we have to see that that purpose is coming from a collective that has an energy behind that, a God's purpose, a creation purpose to bring that down here with us. And we have to start recognizing that when we bring a dog back in the house, or start working with dogs or start being near dogs. I think that is being activated as the moment we start creating those emotional relationships, that the whole thing was just downloading.
Exactly. And one of the things you were saying before, Roman, is you said that dogs are not slaves, and a lot of people believe that they are. Well, if we think about that, dog is God, God is dog, and we all have God in us, then why would you want to treat anyone like a slave? But people do that. They feel that a dog is there to service them, and that's they're there to bring us what we need, but it shouldn't be expected of them.
Well, I feel using that term is really intense, and I want people to kind of put some water in their wine when they drink that. Many people are not aware that we do certain things with certain expectations. Like when I work with people, I see all the time, well, my dog has to do this and my dog has to do that, and my dog, should be firm. And I said, why would he do that? Well, I'm his owner. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why would that be a reason of a dog doing something? Because you own the dog. And we kind of have to see that aspect, that his dog is actually volunteering himself being there. He can't make a choice, bite you and leave.
Right.
But he doesn't, because they're bonding in a family relationship. The dog sees you as part of his family. He's an aspect of your family. Now, while physically he's an aspect of your family, spiritually he is an aspect of creation, just like you are.
That's
just
right.
like I am, just like Eten is. So we all conclude that because of us, the creation gets a feedback, and it's only happening if we are honest about it. So if I treat the dog like he's not valuable and he's not part of that creation, then I'm making a damage into the creation. I'm part of it, and I've been consciously part of it, and I don't want to be that.
And what happens if they do that? Then behavior problems start.
Yes.
Okay, so look at the correlation here now, folks. Seriously, look at the correlation in that. If you don't recognize your dog as part of the family and that they are valued, then you will treat them accordingly, and you will let them know that they don't matter to you. And when that happens, that's when they start peeing, that's when they start biting, that's when they start chewing. All these behavior problems begin to occur. So how do you change that? Well, that's what we're trying to get to you to understand. Right, Gitan?
Absolutely. The idea of owning a dog is completely awkward. We don't own a living thing. I know there's trade, there's commerce, but it's make no sense to have a dog in your house, in your family, and considering that as an object. You have an ownership on this object. The other thing I would like to share with you, and that's what Roman was talking about a few minutes ago, we share consciousness. We have a different level of consciousness than the dog, but the dog and us, we both have consciousness. We have different level of consciousness, but we still have consciousness. And this is where we can connect at the level of consciousness. So having the idea of I'm the master, I'm the dominator, I'm the guy running the show, you should obey and follow my order. It's just a power trip. It's not a relationship, and this is an open door for a lot of problem. If the dog behave with or stay under the domination of the human, as soon as another human show up, there's pretty good chance that the dog would be aggressive.
Right.
Very good chance.
And then to parallel on that, Gaetan, if they do that, then that's where man's best friend finally comes in, because the consciousness is there, and you recognize, hey, you know what? This dog is better of a friend to me than most of the friends I already have. And why is that? So that's going to lead us into this. We decided to go with 7 spiritual lessons that you can learn from your dog. And the first one is because dogs have present moment awareness. Many of us live in the past. We worry about what happened last year, what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't realize that the moment that we have right now is the most valuable moment, because it's the only one we are truly experiencing right now. If you live in the past, you can't change that. And then you've got all that old garbage, that excess garbage. Dogs don't have garbage. They don't live in the past, and they don't care about, they're not worrying about, oh, where am I going to get my next meal? Where am I going to get my next meal? Nothing. They live right in the moment. So does anybody want to comment on that? Living in the present. Go ahead, Roman.
So first of all, we have to recognize, as soon as we have the dog in the house or in our close environment, the dog naturally seeks the type of relationship he is dealing with. The crass example is, am I a prey or am I a predator in that relationship? And then we go further down into details. Do I have a secure attachment relationship with that person who takes care of me? So we see the dogs, just like children, seek for secure attachment relationship. Now, many people and dogs have a trauma there in that secure attachment relationship. And this is what gets them off the timeline. Like, they cannot think in the present because they are traumatized, and so they think in the future or think in the past. How I was not able to save my parents, but now I try to save my dog, gets me stuck in the past, and the dog brings you back in the present. And I see many times that people who have these kind of difficulties in attachment or have difficulties with trauma, they usually adopt a dog or get into a relationship with a dog. I'm not talking about sexual relationship, obviously, but in an emotional relationship with a dog, where they have similar basic trauma, like the core traumas are similar. Abandonment, abandoned dog, rejection. And we come out with these things, and we're so attracted to heal that in ourselves and get that dog to help us transition. If I can heal my dog, I can heal myself too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best thing to become present is become conscious of how I feel that moment it's happening, and not sitting in the past and get stuck with it.
Yep.
Okay, we've got a question here. Hi, Carl. A dog deserves jobs in the family so they know they have important investments in the family unit. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So,
Carol is a trainer, and she also works with search and rescue. So she comes from a very in the job description experience with very difficult breed, actually, Norwegian elk hounds. People use them for hunting. She's search and rescue.
okay. Okay, so now we look at the next lesson, and that's acceptance and contentment. Dogs have a wonderful way of being able to bring us to a contentment stage. And I was talking about it before the show. There's nothing, you can come in and you've got just a terrible, terrible day, and it's just very emotional. Somebody may have passed away. You may have had just a bad day at work or something. And there's that dog that has got that tail that's going, and you sit down next to them, and all of a sudden you put your hand on their head, and do you find that you just forget totally about what happened during the day, and there's a smile that comes to your face? I know, Dale, that you're watching. Dale's got a new puppy, Hero. And what I love seeing Dale every day now is he is so aware of what Hero is doing. He watches him, and this big smile comes over his face, and he has this urge to want to touch him. Well, that's just a beautiful thing. I think it's a beautiful thing anyway. And so this acceptance and contentment, the dogs are content just being with you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to take them anywhere. You don't have to give them anything. You don't have to buy them anything. You don't have to lavish them with all kinds of things. They're just content being with you because you are their best friend. Right?
I feel there are different stages where some dogs have the ability to get there, being in that state of mind and that emotional state, and some dogs haven't had that experience yet because they were too early removed from the parents. They grew up in a facility or factory, breeding factory. Sometimes we have a dog who is in a me state. It's all about him. It's all about what he wants to survive. It's kind of a trauma state. And then as soon as the dog starts communicating with us, and there's a two-way communication, this is where that relationship starts building up, and the dog will see the reason for that person, and the communication starts and blooms into an emotional relationship, and then the spiritual aspect comes in. So from a me state, it goes into a two-way communication, and then it goes into a we state. And I think that is an important factor. Help the dog get to his potential, and not through punishment and not through corrections, but through an emotional supportive training and parenting education is the way to get there.
I attend a puppy training a few weeks ago at the beginning of the year. And the puppy training was going like reward, good gesture, reward, so on and so forth. But at what point in the training, it's no longer a matter of reward versus good action for the relationship between the dog and the human? And do you have some understanding of where the transition happened there?
The transition happens when the dog is going into a two-way communication. He brings you the ball for you to throw it. You have to become aware, is it about the ball or is it about my relationship? You can you can make that an obsession and say my dog comes because I want him to throw the ball, or the dog comes to me because he wants to have an interaction. And so since the dog is in a learning process, and I feel as spiritual beings being, call it, incarnated in their physical form as dogs, they have to learn how to interact emotionally with us. And I would say we are masters in emotional relationships because that's what we do. And I think dogs want to learn from that. So we have to teach them what we say with the relationship. Relationship is not you come for me to throw the ball, is you come to me and we have a game. The game starts with you showing me what is it worth to you. Is
Yeah.
it worth for me to show it to you? And I will appreciate you for showing me a behavior that I appreciate. And then we can get the game on. So I will appreciate you for offering me a behavior, and you appreciate me for throwing the ball.
Mhm.
And we can work that up to a higher level. So the dog doesn't come to us for us to throw the ball. He comes to us to be with us because of our emotional being and how we feel about that. And this is where the service dog comes in. The dog comes in because we are imbalanced on how we feel. We feel depressed. The dog comes in and comfort us, or he wants us to go out for a walk. He brings the leash because we feel different. And some dogs don't have this ability because of their breed traits. We kind of bred it out of them. But most of the dogs have Mastiff breeds, all these guardians and protection dogs that we, misinterpret as aggressive, and they are on the aggressive dog list. They are highly sensitive, emotional dogs who can sense the difference between being upset, frustrated, or angry, or fearful, and they respond accordingly. Now, how do I deal with that? Correcting the dog for recognizing how I feel? Or do I teach him that if I feel this, do that instead, because that makes me appreciate you?
Yes.
And so
Right.
appreciation is the important factor of that.
So that's the connection about being the spiritual connection, because you're connecting. It's almost like a telepathy. It's you just sense it. You just automatically know it. Have you ever had a time where you're thinking about someone and you're picking up the phone to call them, and they're there on the other end, they're calling you? So it's that connection. If the dog feels it and you feel it, Charlie just felt it. Did you hear him?
Are you guys talking about me?
Yeah.
No.
Hi, Selena. She says, I'm here. And Christina, this is from before, she said, and they are willing to forgive. Yeah, we were going to go into the forgiveness part of it. Actually, our next area is non-judgment. Dogs don't judge. How many of us live our world in judgment of what others do, wear, look, feel, eat, drink, their habits, everything? We're in judgment of them. Dogs don't judge us. They could care less if you took a bath a month ago. They could care really, seriously. We all know that. Dogs love us no matter what, and they don't judge. They don't care. My Charlie is the same as your dog, but how do you make that connection? How do you get people to not judge the way dogs do, to become more spiritual in their connection? Gaetan's laughing. Wait, look, Gaetan. Gaetan's laughing. Go ahead.
The problem is not with the dog. The problem is with the human.
Yeah.
We have a lot of social, cultural incitation to judge. You have a show on TV about a movie star, and if you listen to the show, it's like judgment, 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 judgment. Judgment after judgment after judgment. Thanks God, a dog has no consideration of judgment, and he take the owner, the human that he interact with, as is, no prerequisite.
Right.
And that's a big deal, because in a society we are constantly judged. One comment I received about the show many months ago was that somebody said, "Oh, you're never wearing the same shirt. Did you listen to the show, or you just watch my shirt?"
Yeah.
So
Or they mention that you've got something on your face or the bag.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're listening to the content or what? Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
thanks God, dogs
Yeah.
don't judge us.
Exactly right. The problem is with the human. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big
And
problem.
so do you train your dog, or does your dog train you? Good point. Good
Good
question. Good question.
One
Roman?
of the reason I accept to do the show, I told you that, Kathy, from the beginning, is to take the example of dog to tell human how to behave sometime.
Not sometimes, all the time.
Well,
All
give
the
them a
time.
chance.
And yeah, teach them how to act. Okay, Carly says, Warren, a bit of both. Yeah, we train each other. Roman,
Yeah.
you want to comment about the Dale's question? Do you
Well,
train your dog, or does your dog train you?
I feel we should look a little bit away from training because dogs do things on their own. You
Yeah,
just throw him the treat and he does something that you like, you reward that, and all of a sudden the dog will show you what he wants to do and you give that a name. Is it training, or is it just giving names the dog's things that they do? We have to recognize that we're coming from a dark age of dog training where we judge the dog's preferred behavior, not understanding the function of the behavior. So the dog is barking, we call him a barker, and then we buy devices to stop the barking, not recognizing that a dog's barking has a functional behavior. There's a reason for the dog barking, and we just ignore that and we judge the dog for what he does. When the dog does something, takes food off the table, we judge the dog for stealing, and then we buy e-collars, prong collars, choke collars, spray collars, shaker cans to punish the dog from stealing. But we judge the dog for that. We don't see the function of the behavior. Well, the dog maybe is hungry. Maybe he's an opportunistic species that will take that opportunity because you left the pizza behind and obviously you don't need it anymore. Therefore, I take it. Now,
Here
how do
you
I
are.
punish
why
that, right?
not?
The problem is
Bada
with the
bing,
human
bada
again.
boom.
Right, and
Yeah.
so we're coming as trainers and behaviorists from a very different place and says, well, stop judging the dog
Yeah.
for what he does and understand why he does it
Yes,
and what made him think that he should do that.
right.
So, and
Yeah.
we come back down to the aspect that, don't take me kind of like on the numbers, but I believe 42% are genetic factors and 58% are environmental factors that makes a dog behave a certain way. And 58% of those environmental factors, 100% are we in control. So why is the dog behaving 58% of his behavior? Is because we control 100% of those.
That's right. That's
So
right.
I cannot blame the dog. I have to find out why he
Yeah.
does it and then work on that. And I was back in the time, and I'm not proud of that situation and where I was, but it was part of my evolution as behaviorist, is that I choose to punish dogs for their behavior. Until one day I said, what am I doing wrong? Why is the behavior changing if I punish for it? And then I recognized, well, the dog doesn't see it that way because he believes it's a totally right thing to do. So it's a conflict of interest. What the dog believes is right and
That's
what I
right.
believe is right are two different things. So how do we get the common denominator?
That's a very good point, because there's two opinions here. There's his opinion and your opinion, and what makes it right to hit one for their opinion. Very good point. Yes.
I think there's a factor there. I don't see that as two opposite, but an intent of communication and paying attention to the dog way of expressing itself will definitively, to my thinking or my observation, will definitively bring a better understanding of each other. So punishing a dog because he's doing one thing is not understanding the dog, why he's doing it, what triggered that behavior, and what
Right.
can we do to understand the need and prevent, in that sense, behavior, not in a punishing way, but in an understanding way, and create a
Right.
condition where you don't need anymore to be scared, you don't need anymore to bark for no apparent reason, because we found the reason why. Then we can communicate and interact with the dog.
And
Right.
90% of the time, the dog feeling the need to do things that we consider wrong is because the relationship sucks.
Right.
And because we have established a family code of conduct and the dog was not being integrated in the family as such, a member of the family.
Right.
And
So
dogs
they're being
struggling.
the bad boy, being the black sheep of the family, the bad
Yeah,
boy.
because he wants attention, because he wants to
They-
feel part of the family.
Exactly. See, folks, that's what I love this show, because we really, really hit, and I love the fact that we're dealing into the spiritual and the behavior side of it. It's us as humans that are causing the problems with our dogs. It's not the dogs. And as a matter of fact, Dale brought up a very good point here. He's got his dog Maggie had passed away a couple of weeks ago, and he got Hero, and Hero's the new puppy in the family. And his other dog, Gunner, which is his son's dog, Gunner, he's been training him to do everything. He trained him to go out and use the doggy door. He trains him, he plays with them. He's teaching him everything. And that's another thing. If you have more dogs in your house, that spiritual connection involves them too, and they help each other. Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah. I see people complaining about the dogs digging in the yard or in the flower beds, and I was like, "Who started it?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" Well, a person see digging in the plant. Well, I have to plant my plants, and that's what the dog wants to do too.
Very good point. Very good point. I want to bring this one up again. Christina says, when I'm having a bad day and I'm a hot mess, and it is so nice to curl up with my dog that are as smelly and messy as I am. Yes, absolutely. And she also said another thing here too. She said, it was you, Roman, who spoke about our dogs' jobs. And once we understand what their naturally feeling job is, it's much easier to understand them. Very good. Yeah. That's oh boy. Okay, now the next area is adaptability. Dogs can adapt to anything. People worry about where they are. Oh, they're not going to like that bed because it's got this or that. They'll sleep anywhere. They'll do anything. Their adaptability is they're overwhelmingly not like us. You're laughing, Gaetan. What do you want to say on that?
I'm blaming humans. They cannot adapt.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have their old habits, and this is the way it is.
That's right. Yeah.
My way or the highway. So no adaptability. You know, I like this saying is, to be happy, you need to be able to adapt. To adapt is to be happy. People not able to adapt, sad life.
Well, what does adapt really mean?
Well, you have the environment, you have changing condition, you have the coronavirus right now, you stay home. So you, instead of me going out and working and filming and going to a lot of places, filming all these video about dogs, service dog, and this and that, I'm stuck in my house. So I have to adjust and find way around this situation. And so I'm doing some planning for when this coronavirus will be over, when things will be reopened and I can go out and start filming. I do more research. I go online. I adapt for what is possible to do for me. And so that's why everybody can find happiness. I have a guy who was a prisoner in jail. It's a true story. It's a real story. And the guy was a candidate for a parole to be released, and he never applied. I asked him why. I wasn't in jail. I was like a volunteer visiting prisoner.
Well, glad you cleared that up.
Just for the public. Just for the clarification. So I asked him why he didn't apply for parole. And he said, everything here is stable. And my life is completely organized. When I will be out, everything will be like chaos. And I was like, really? And apparently he's not the only guy with that attitude, where for him being in jail was, I'm fine. Everything is organized. Everything is stable. The walls are not moving. Everything is scheduled. I'm fine here. And I was like unable to adapt. And that was a big problem for him. In the outside world, it was completely panicky. And anyway, so back to be able to adapt. Dog adapt because they don't have prejudice.
Yeah, right. Look at the compliment we just got. Thank you so much, Carol. I want to thank you, thank the three of you for doing this. We need more people like you to put the message out to dog owners everywhere. We agree. And the way you can help us is share. Just share with us. Yeah, absolutely. So adaptability now.
Adaptability is basically a temperament trait of 9 that the science refers to. So adaptability is how easy the dog adapts to transitions and changes, like switching from one activity to another, leaving one place, go to another, or changing routines, changing dog food. Does it take a long time to become comfortable to a new situation? Is it a dog who is slow to adapt in a new situation, new friends, new people? So if the dog has problems with adaptability, it can come in as a fear response, not being able to adapt accordingly and getting overwhelmed with the situation. And what's going to happen is the dog will show averse behaviors. For example, he will show an avoidance behavior, barking at the person because that person he's not being able to adapt because he doesn't have experience to create relationships with those people who are strangers. So we have family, we have friends, and we have strangers, and we have danger. And if the dog cannot switch accordingly in time in that particular factor, then the dog has problems adapting into new situations. You will see dogs who have a trauma in adaptability. You bring him a new football and place it in front of their face, and they're like, that's not my ball. Well, it's your food. It's not my ball.
Yep.
Or you switch car and they're like, that's not our car.
Yeah.
Or that's not my bed. You wash
Or
the
you
bed and
move,
the dog is like,
and it's a
new
new house.
furniture, right?
Well,
And so
yeah.
we see the dogs can have trauma or have a hard time adjusting to that for different medical reasons for sometimes. But usually it's trauma. They just basically shut off. They are afraid of make changes. Dogs who are being institutionalized in shelters, like Gaitan told, dogs can be institutionalized as well as just people.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
work with a dog right now, a giant poodle, who has been 5 years institutionalized in a breeding kennel. And now the first time he has choices. He doesn't know how to make choices. He doesn't know how to pick right or left from the same treat. He's kind of like freaking out. So this is a slow progress, and specialize in trauma as well. So that's something that it kind of takes a couple of times to work
Right.
on.
And Carol says their ability of a dog to adapt depends on the consistency and the trust of the owner. Absolutely.
That's a factor
Absolutely.
too. Because if the dog doesn't have a solution to his problem and what to do with it, the first thing he needs is a secure attachment relationship to refer to get information to deal with it. And if that's not set, then it's not working. The three amigos.
The three amigos. Yeah, that's us, Dale. Yeah, that's us for sure. Okay, so now the next one is my all-time favorite. This is such a spiritual connection, is the unconditional love that a dog gives.
Whoa.
My very, very, very favorite. If we could just grasp as humans how to unconditionally love, which means if I do this for you, what am I going to get out of it? Change that to I want to give to you. How can I serve you? What is it that you need? And have no expectations whatsoever of anything in return. Just being grateful for the ability and the resources and having whatever it takes to help that person, that you have that available, and you can feel that gratitude. You get a butterfly and goosebump feelings when you can make somebody happy. And that's what a dog does to us. They give us this unbelievable, unconditional love the second we walk in the door. Every minute that we're there, they follow us to the bathroom. They follow us no matter where we go. We don't have they're like Velcro. And that type of love is a love that you can't experience from a human, or can you?
Well, human, take the
Yes.
lesson. Be unconditional. Have love for your family member. No condition. Very
Yes.
simple.
Right.
Then for your friend, then for your colleague, but start from your family. The husband or the father don't like the son because he wear long hair. Then what?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. He wear long hair and you don't like your son. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
You
Whoa.
know what I like about a dog is that a dog senses. They sense when you need something, and they sense when you whether it's comfort or whatever the gifts are that they can give to us. They just automatically do it. You don't have to tell them to do it. With humans don't come forward and they don't say, well, what is it I can do for you? Because they don't want to have to either give you money, or they have to give you something of theirs, or they have to help you out in a way or go out of their way of doing things. They don't want to do that if they really don't have to. And so dogs just instinctively know. Okay,
The,
Roman. Oh
Well,
yeah, go ahead, Gaetan. Go
just
ahead.
based on what you just said, the human don't want to give time or give attention. It's an effort for a human to pay attention to somebody else. Oh, she called me. I have to answer.
Yes.
It's an effort. Why not? Why it's an effort? Somebody called you, they need you. Why don't you answer and say, "Yeah, hi, nice to have you." Not
Yeah.
putting a condition saying, "Oh no, it's her calling me again. She wants something." Oh man.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel we should. The ancient Greeks had already a problem defining love and unconditional love, mother love, and lover's love. And when we say unconditional love, it's how you call that word? It's an abstract. We don't know
Mhm.
what unconditional love is until we're there. It's an evolution. It's an emotional evolution process.
Mhm.
We can. Nature loves us unconditionally. She doesn't care what we do when we do it, and she always offers. We live in abundance once we are in that state.
Mhm.
And a dog will give you unconditional love because he's coming from unconditional love. He doesn't understand what it is not to be unconditional.
Mhm. Yep.
However,
Mhm.
there are stages for that because the way he is in our environment, everything is conditioned. Like we're coming from a perspective of conditioning a dog. Wait, what?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And we put that dog a frame. If you don't do what I want, I don't love you. I love
Yeah.
you because you do things for me. So how far are we away from unconditional?
Yeah. Far away.
So
Yeah.
if I want my dog to
Judgmental and conditional kind of go
right,
together.
and
Mhm.
I understand the idea that we want to control our environment, but the environment does need control. If we're coming from that aspect, well, the dog will do whatever he feels is appropriate once I'm honest about my emotions.
Mhm.
And he will voluntarily do it unconditionally. Well, he wants us to feel good and he wants us to love him. He wants to be part of our family. It is conditioned in that 3D world we are in. So, unconditional love is an idea, and dogs don't have ideas in that aspect. They see what's happening right now in front of him. Do you love me unconditionally? Yes or no? Give me that freaking treat.
That's a human language right there.
Right. But still, we have to see that the dog has free will of choice. And we're
Yeah.
getting closer to the aspect of love. So the question, does dog love and do we love him back in return? Yes, if we accept the dog to be an emotional being that is free and has a free will choice. He is framed in our home in a backyard because of the safety issues we consider ourselves in India, and these dogs can do whatever they want freely. And there are not so many bite incidents as are here in US. We have over 3.2 million people get bit every year. 400,000 children get bit every year because of not respecting the dog's free will choice.
Yeah, and think about all of the bites that would be eliminated if people were to recognize the danger signs in their own dogs, that they're
Consent,
that
it is.
exactly. Okay, Christina says, I call my dogs visas. That's very good. They're everywhere I want to be. And Ron, this is my brother. He says, Serving Man, an episode of The Twilight Zone, has aliens invading Earth to bring humans back to their planet. When humans translated the name of the book the aliens brought with them, humans gladly got on board their spaceship. The name of the book was Serving Man. It was a cookbook.
That's a good
But
one.
yeah. Uh, okay.
Oh, these human.
Yeah. Okay.
Ah,
Let's see now. We got what two more loyalty, and I think we pretty much covered loyalty. So from there, let's go to the last one, which is intuition over intellect, which is what dogs have. And most of us feel as humans that we're the smart ones. We're the ones that know. But did you ever hear the saying that if a woman has intuition, she should go on based on that? If it's a gut instinct, if it's something, then really that's really what a dog has. Does anybody want to comment on intuition over intellect?
What is intuition? I'm playing smart. I'm just reading down here, right? Intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need of conscious reasoning.
Hmm.
Now, what do dogs do when the doorbell rings? They bark. They don't have
Yeah.
a reasoning. They just bark because it's just happening right there.
The alert.
Okay. However, I think where we come in as intuition is to become now aware of how it feels like
Hmm.
the dog responds. What is behind that? So if we have a relationship and we have an intuitive relationship, I feel how my partner feels like,
Hmm.
and I adjust accordingly to help my partner adjust, or through my adjustment, to bring that balance in case. So my partner is stressed, I try to make him comfortable. The dog feels as stressed, he comes up to us to feel comfortable. This is where the natural service dog comes in. I don't need a prong collar to train a service dog. I don't need the e-collar to train a service dog. I don't need punishment and intimidation to serve a service dog. He does it on his own if I give him that opportunity and start rewarding him for making that choice and appreciate him. Reward is not always food. It could be attachment relationship. It could be emotional feedback. It could be a smile. Dogs can recognize facial expression. Dogs can recognize your heartbeat, whether your hormones are gushing out happiness or anger or fear. So we don't need to turn a blind eye on that, because dogs do that all the time. We're just not aware of that.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I think, want to be intuitive? You can start with your dog. How does my dog feel like right now wagging his tail? How do I feel like in return?
Yeah.
What message do I send my dog for jumping on me while wagging his tail? I give him the knee because I don't like it. Wait, you don't like the way your dog feels like, and you correct that behavior? Or you don't appreciate that, but you appreciate the sit? That gives you even more than that.
Yeah.
So we see that how this intuition, sometimes we block it, we don't want it, and we just think about things and start creating that punishment relationship because we're not intuitive about our relationship with our dogs, I
Hmm.
guess.
Right. Yeah. Christina says, never trust a human your dog doesn't like. Boy, that is really true. Yeah. Trust the dog's intuition for picking up on something you as a human
Uh,
is second guessing.
I feel we should be very careful about that. We should not judge people because the dog made a misinterpretation.
Okay.
I, I deal with people
I've
who say,
known my dogs to be 100% about a person if they don't
yeah,
like them.
I've seen dogs have trauma for a certain body language and a certain posture of a person,
Well,
and
that's
this person,
different. Yeah. Yeah.
well, the person, if we go based on that aspect, which I agree sometimes, that we cannot judge the dog for judging that person because we don't know where the dog is coming from.
Right. Right.
So kind of like, yeah, but
There's
I
another.
Whoops. Wait. Okay. Go ahead.
I was saying that in connection with that, there's another, a more primal level of communication that we don't even realize. As our emotion change, our smell change, the
That's
chemistry
true.
in the body change.
Good point.
So the dog are the ability to smell, which we disregard and we mask and we say, no, I'm not smelling bad. Kathy, you
I must
stink.
be angry.
Right. So a person entering in an environment where the dog is, which is a stressed person, the dog would perceive that. There's at many
That's
level,
true.
but the posture is one, but the chemistry is also another one that the
Yeah.
dog can capture, and we're not able to capture that.
Yeah. Well,
So,
let's put it this way. If a dog still doesn't like a person after everything is equal
mhm.
and the person is settled and they're okay, then I trust in my dog. I'm with Christina.
Well, I'm
Okay.
afraid of missing your dog. Then, what would be the reaction?
Yeah. Okay. Look at now here. This is our dogs. They are connected to us spiritually. And what we need to do is to bring ourselves closer to them, look them in the eyes, and know that they are a beautiful being and they are something that we truly, truly should regard as a gift and value them. Please value them. Any last words, guys, before we say goodbye to everyone?
Well, I would say we have this term of dog whisperer, and everybody wants to be the dog whisperer, and everybody wants to be the alpha, and everybody wants to be the boss and the pack leader. How about we start listening to our dogs and step up for our responsibility as parent? And with the meaning of parent is all of those beings who are under our care. That's parenting. I can parent my grandparents because they're not able to care for themselves. Makes me a parent, kind of, sort of. We have also seen children parenting their parents. So we see that dynamic is who's taking care of whom. So if I try to control my dog without being a parent, this is not going to work out. And I don't want you to call me for help.
Right.
I want you to have a good relationship where that healthy communication comes in out of respect and out of conscious thinking or conscious awareness that my dog is here to help me because I help him. It's kind of like a two level here. It's a spiritual, let's say it's an ascension process, and dogs are being with us to help us in that ascension process. What is the ascension process? Everybody can kind of figure out himself, but I guarantee you, you have a dog in your house that came in a magic way. He's here for you to help you with the ascension process, so it can mirror you what you have to work on, or mirror you what you need help with. So don't judge your dog for reflecting what you need to work on. It's just him here to help you.
Yep.
Okay, Carly, because she says, Carol, I mean, a dog turned loose in the wild will probably survive if they don't succumb to being prey or a hazard of environment like cars, toxins, poisons, guns, etc. Where I have fair survival skills, but take away all my tools, I will probably die. So we are very intelligent in our controlled environment, but is intelligence transferable to survival skills when those tools are taken away? Another thing on service dogs, the ability. Yeah. Okay. And Christina says that's so true. Okay. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful show. Thank you, Roman. Thank you, Gaetan.
Thank you, Kathy.
We will see you next week. And we love this show, and we're going to do a lot more on the spiritual side. Actually, I think everything is going to be geared. Gaetan and I and Roman will talk about it, and I think it's all going to be geared about the spiritual side of connecting with your dog, no matter what you do, no matter how you do it. That's the way that, I mean, you can train your dog, but be connected to them. Okay, everyone. Bye.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.